So check this out, yo. We actually create social anxiety in real time because what we don't realize is nothing has manifested yet until we have become anxious, until our mind has encapsulated that energy. Now our nervous system is actually receiving and reciprocating with that energy, and now you're starting to do body languages, things with your eyes, just giving off energies and spectrums of being anxious. So social anxiety is literally just anxiety itself is a spectrum of energy that we play out in our own mind. And once that train of thought, once that train of feelings leaves the station, we're actually going to create situations for us to be socially anxious about because everyone's psyche, everyone's senses is tingling, everyone's spidey senses is tingling and trying to see what that spectrum is. And if you keep participating in that energy of an anxiety, then what you're going to find yourself happen, what you're going to find happening is whenever you're participating in a social setting, in a social environment, you're going to find that an anxiety playing out as some type of social problem, but it's really not even social anxiety. It's really just an anxiety alone. So that anxiety comes with you when you're paying your bills. You might act like you don't know what to do and things like that. So it's the energy signature of an anxiety itself. And an anxiety comes from you overthinking about something too much, you logically trying to interpret the experience, and it comes from you trying to make sense out of something before it even happens. This is why, let's say, when let's say you're in the sword, let's say you're in sword combat, or let's say you're holding a gun and you're shooting at a target for practice, right? But you're playing out the energy spectrum of anxious because you don't know what's going to happen when you fire that gun. You don't know what's going to happen in the sword combat with this person one-on-one. So when we play out the anxiety energy, it's going to carry out in you. Your nervous system is going to be anxious. Your nervous system is going to be going off. You're not able to control your actions. You're going to do something that's uncalled for, and then it's going to create an error in that problem. You might not even shoot the target if you're holding a gun because you're so anxious. You can't even focus. You can't even see and feel clearly because you're trying to make sense logically, and you're trying to interpret something that didn't even happen yet, if you know what I'm saying. So that's why you got to stay clear out of that energy of an anxiety itself, so you don't even manifest that spectrum in your day-to-day life, because it's just the energy signature itself. You can see how, like, let's say if you're an emotional person, let's say if you're overly emotional, you might even just see somebody get slapped, and you might feel like you are in that situation because you can feel what that person is going through. If you're an overly emotional person, you might even go watch a sad movie or whatever, and you might cry, versus the person who's next to you that's not even crying because they don't even have that overly whelming emotion inside of them. And sometimes we can accumulate these things just based on going through certain experiences, and those experiences really being ingrained in us, so we start taking that thinking and feeling like that experience is real. But the thing is, it's just been ingrained so deeply inside of you. Whatever spectrum of energy that you're dealing with right now, we're talking about an anxiety. You might, let's say, you might have someone, an overseer around you, making sure that you do this thing right. You might be like training to become a butler or whatever, right? And the head butler is pushing you to become the best butler that you can. But by him overseeing you and not allowing you to be free and things like that, that's making you anxious. Because now you got this another observer observing you, and that might make you super anxious. So now you might be trying to serve your master or whatever some tea or some shit, and you might let the cup fall based on you allowing that energy to impede upon you. And now here you go, that master is about to give you even more anxiety for doing that. But that's the energy signature that you're carrying with you everywhere. So this is why a lot of people even get into meditation, because it allows them to let go of that overly logical, overly trying to make sense out of things, and kind of just live in the moment of life. Because when you're living in the moment, you're allowing things to come in and go freely. You're not holding on to an energy spectrum, and that's the problem. That's where the problem generally comes from when it comes to social anxiety, because you're holding on to certain energies that you really should have letting go of since you was a child and things like that. And now that anxiety comes with you everywhere you go. But that anxiety might help you in other areas. You might, a person who's carefree, or whatever might not necessarily be careful about doing, let's say, like a mathematical equation, but you being anxious might make you do that equation in a more structured, in a more, let's say, the way that the academy taught you. But at the same time, that person who is free can find a whole new way to solve that equation, although it might not be accepted by the academy, because I did that in my life. Like, I found new ways to solve math problems, but my professors didn't accept that from me. So they told me, no, this is how it's done. It has to be done this way. Because it's like I spent so much time trying to find a new way to do it, and that when I found that new way, that person doesn't accept it. That makes you like kind of anxious. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, okay, like, well, am I not accepted? Am I not normal? Blah, 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 blah. Things like that. So it's generally where social anxiety comes from. So to work on getting rid of that, the spectrum of an anxiety itself, work on letting that go. Because the only way you can be perceived as socially anxious because you're overly trying to make sense, you're overly trying to logicalize, left-brained out, make sense out of something that didn't even happen yet. You know what I'm saying? And then you're getting ready to manifest situations to be socially anxious about, just based on you not being able to feel and see things freely. So that train of thought is about to leave your mind, and you're about to manifest the actual circumstance for you to be socially anxious. So that's just the energy signature of an anxiety itself. Don't get lost in that energy, because it's going to seep into other areas and things like that. You might even just go buy a donut, but you might be so anxious, you might count your money like 5 times, but the donut costs $1.25. You counted it 5 times because you're socially anxious, because you're so fucking anxious. Now that register, now the other person at the register is going to look at you like, bro, are you okay? It's $1.25. I just saw you count it 5 times. But it's because you're so socially anxious. Now you're attracting that situation. People can see that energy spectrum exuding from you, and now people are going to have to question you about that. Like, is this person like okay? Like, what's wrong with this person? But that's just generally where social anxiety comes from. So work on getting rid of the anxiety itself, through whatever medium you want to work with. And once you let go of that energy signature that's inside of you, you're going to find yourself experiencing things more in the moment. And you're going to find yourself experiencing life much more freely, rather than you, again, trying to be too left-brained out. Because you're supposed to use your right brain. Otherwise, you'd be walking without the right side of your dome. So, yeah, that's just a short video on social anxiety. Real fucking shit.